Yo, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Hockey Town Rundown. You are here with us, your beautiful hosts, once again, Carlo and Zach. Carlo, happy Super Bowl Sunday, buddy.
Big Sunday.
Big.
Who you got?
Honestly, I'm going with everyone else. I'm tired of the Chiefs, Taylor Swift. I guess give me the Eagles, but honestly, don't really care.
Yeah, fair enough.
If you want, but that's my take. What about you, dude?
I want the Eagles bad. I'm seeing what Saquon Barkley's done this year. Easy choice for me. Guy's unreal. Would be really cool. Would be really cool to see him rip off a couple runs. Eagles win it, and then Saquon getting the MVP. That would make my day perfectly. But we'll see what happens. I mean, it is the Kansas City Refs after all. We shall see what goes down in that game.
Y'all heard it here first. That's Carlo's parlay without saying that's his parlay. So.
Yeah, it is. It actually is, though. I did play something down.
Write it down before you forget and put that in so that way y'all can win with him and celebrate at the exact same time. Carlo, that is awesome. But once again, thanks for joining us on this brand new episode of Hockey Town Rundown. We really do appreciate you guys stopping by and viewing us on this episode, whether if you are returning or brand new. Either one of the case, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button that is right down there. If you are watching us on YouTube, hit that like button and then hit that little notification bell that lets you know when these brand new episodes come out. And then you can also do the same thing on Apple and Spotify by liking this video and then rating us 5 stars. That truly does go a long way, Carlo. And once again, for those that may not have seen the last episode, Carlo, are you a mind reader? Can you think what I'm thinking?
Yeah, I see Todd, I see Trent, and I see Zach, and I'm thinking in between those eyes, you got to be thinking of the word free because you did hear it here first, folks. It is free to do. Technically, you probably heard it on the last episode and maybe the episode before that, but you also heard it here today first. Totally free to do. Helps us a lot. Goes a long way. It truly does help us more than you may think. So just that subtle click does go a long way. But before we go further, I think we should just take a minute to say thanks to everybody who's currently subscribed to the channel. We did hit a pretty big milestone this past week by surpassing 1,000 subscribers. That doesn't happen without you guys doing that subtle click, and this is why we constantly want to remind you all about that. So Zach's slow clapping the news that we just broke here. I'm going to join him. We really appreciate it. We thank you, and we can't wait to get to 2,000 from here, and hopefully it happens a little bit quicker. But that only happens with the help of you guys. So please feel free to drop that mouse down a little bit, hit down on the remote control, and hit subscribe. It goes a very, very long way, and we appreciate it.
I tweeted this out, Carlo, and I truly meant it. Men do cry because as soon as I saw that hit, tears were flowing through, buddy. Honestly, you guys made my day that day. Shout out to our 1,000th subscriber for doing that. We truly do appreciate it. And we truly do this for you guys, right? Not only for ourselves, because we do enjoy providing you guys good content and entertainment. At least we believe that we do, Carlo. Yeah. Let us know what you guys think down below. But yeah, we do this exactly for you guys because we know Red Wings fans always want new and great entertainment to get them through the weekend, whatever they're going through, and just have really good Red Wings discussions, right? Or just hockey related discussions. We have met some really great people down this road, just talking with them, whether if that's on this channel of YouTube, Spotify, or Apple, because you can comment on those platforms as well.
Yep.
But also on Twitter, X, right, Carlo? We've come across some really great, enjoyable people that have really great attitudes that also just really want to see the Red Wings do as well as we do, right? So Red Wings fans, they travel far and wide. We saw that in some of these road trip games. Yeah, totally. We're going to go in depth about, but I also wanted to take a moment and actually show the fans, viewers, watchers, listeners, what we also have up on our store.
This is big.
Really great stuff coming up here. Up on the website right now, you can go here. It is in the bio of all of our social medias. Just by clicking our link tree, it will take you to our team store, and we got some lovely merchandise here for men and women. So unisex outfits here. We got some t-shirts, long sleeve shirts, crew necks, hoodies, all of the above. We do have the Todd Father apparel line up. And then we also added in Todd We Trust with a couple hats here too. You can get some different color ones. I'll show you guys some more here on the next page. We do have in Todd We Trust.
Ooh, that hoodie looks good. Ooh, that hoodie looks good. Ooh.
Let's pull it up a little bit here. Yeah, look at this. Got some different sizes. You can go all the way up to 2X or 3XL actually. So yeah, there you go. Pretty affordable prices too for hoodie, Carlo. $45.
Great price, and honestly, like we just want to get this stuff out there because we think Red Wings fans always love rocking anything related to the Red Wings, and in Todd we trust seem to have taken pretty big wildfire throughout the Twitter community, and we're like, we got to put this on some apparel, but at the same time, we don't want to gouge anybody at all. That's not what this is about. We just want to really get this stuff out there and give people something to wear proudly, because it's been a while. It's been a while since we could rock something Red Wings related without maybe getting chirped. Red Wings, you know what I mean? But now it's, it's a little bit different. And In Todd We Trust is a great line that's flying around the interwebs. And yeah, I mean, it's a good time. It's a really good time for Wings fans. And we wanted to kind of continue to push some good stuff out, whether it be entertainment content and even some swag now, so people can kind of rock that proudly. So here we are, there we are. And away we go. It might be a good time to welcome you to the show. Hey, now that was a good jingle.
Hey, there you go. Fist bump yourself right now. There you go, dude. Yeah, that was actually really good. What do we got in store today, Carlo, to kick it off? Well, a lot, actually. There's a lot going on. Are the playoff dreams still alive? Because the Red Wings technically still, as of today, right now, they are in the second wild card spot after losing to Tampa Bay last night. We'll obviously go in depth about this past week's games, but also we'll be talking about the Four Nations Faceoff tournament that will be beginning here pretty soon later this week. And then also, Carlo, there is some news regarding Vladimir Tarasenko and if he may be traded or not, and we'll just go in depth about that one as well, and plenty more on this episode. So stay tuned, stick around, and enjoy this episode, boys and girls. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, however you're viewing or watching us. Carlo, let's jump into it. We're just going to go ahead and jump into the games, and that would be against the Vancouver Canucks, which was on Sunday, actually, Carlo. We recorded last episode right before that because it was a late game for us. But the Detroit Red Wings did have Alex Lyon in net. You did have Patrick Kane coming back for this game, which we talked about it. He was very much missed on this team, especially on the power play. Unfortunately for this game, I don't think it really helped a lot. I thought that he looked a little lackadaisical out there, kind of maybe think that he was still a little bit injured, only because, I mean, the Red Wings as a whole, I don't know if it was because they were playing on the back end of the back-to-back games where they only had 18 to 27 shots. They only had one power play attempt. There was only one power play attempt in this whole entire game. And the Red Wings did not convert on that one opportunity. But overall, just looking at the stats too, outside of the goals, because we did win this one in overtime, the Canucks outplayed the Detroit Red Wings a little bit, but I think that they got a little lucky with Quinn Hughes not being in this game. But you did have Alex DeBrincat scoring in this game for his 22nd, then OT overnight assassin Benny Sherratt scoring his third of the season, and then Alex DeBrincat getting the overtime game-winning goal for his 23rd of the year, which, Carlo, going back to it, the face that he made after scoring that, he knew that they didn't deserve to win this game. I spoke a lot. I'm going to turn it over to you, buddy. Your thoughts and opinions on this game against the Canucks.
So you kind of not much really to add there. I mean, I'll agree with you for sure that Detroit did get outplayed. I mean, this was also kind of, still very much on that road trip with still another game on the road to follow this one. They looked pretty gassed. So, what else is there to say? I mean,
you made a couple of tweets saying, the Red Wings should run away with that 1 point. And then you made another tweet right after they won. You're like, you sprint with those 2
take
points.
Both points. And you know what? I'll comment. My adds to this are going to be two things. Number one, again, Lucas Raymond with these deceptive passes. He is becoming an elite passer. If not, he already is. The way he can no-look it, the way he can bring you one way when the puck's going the other way is truly insane. DeBrincat finishes that, and then the bench, dude. And I tweeted out the clip of the bench. Todd McClellan doing the Todd father, celebrating like a fan, both hands in the air. That was a big win for that team, for that bench, for the organization. That was massive because, to Zach's point, they probably did not have any business taking 2 points out of that game, and they did. So kudos to the team for battling through it on the road, tired, gassed, sore legs, whatever you want to call it. And then shout out to Lucas Raymond. I said it before and I'll say it again. There's certain plays and certain assists that should be counted as like multiple points. That was one of them. Like that pass was that good. But my favorite part of that game was Todd McClellan on the bench celebrating like me in the upper bowl at Little Caesars Arena. It was absolutely incredible.
I'm kind of jumping ahead when I ask this, but do you think the celebration on the bench was better for this game or the next game we're about to go into with the Seattle Kraken and
for me, we could save it, but for me, like the player reaction was definitely better on the game against Seattle because you had Simon Edvinsson doing that European like that nasty. But to see Todd McClellan celebrate like that and be super stoked was truly awesome. It's just we haven't seen that kind of emotion behind the bench, right? So for me, it's a big takeaway.
Oh, I don't think I've ever seen Derek Lalonde or even Jeff Lashville just thinking about past Red Wings coaches, not really to pick on anyone in particular, but I don't think I've seen that. Even you can think of Mike Babcock. You ever seen Mike Babcock cheer like that on the bench? I don't think so. And if you want to see exactly what Carlo is talking about, we actually do have a short video of that on our YouTube page. Why don't you go ahead and check that out on there? Yeah, Carlo, they had no business walking away with 2. I would have been happy with 1. I honestly thought they shouldn't have even deserved 1, but they got the 2, and it was definitely important because that definitely helped the Red Wings get closer to that playoff spot, right into the wild card sector. And so going and talking about the Seattle Kraken game, which was 2 days later, really late night game as well. You did have Talbot in that, and you did have Moritz Seider playing in his 300th career game, Carlo. And to this day, he still has yet to miss a single game. So why don't we just go ahead and
Big claps to Mo. That's a pretty crazy accomplishment to be at that age, playing the role he's playing, going up against the toughest of opponents and not missing a game, blocking shots like crazy, hitting people like crazy, really putting his body on the line all 300 games. And he hasn't missed a game. It's truly incredible. So big ups to Mo Seider, man. That is truly, truly impressive. That guy is the true definition of a German machine, German engineering, whatever you want to call it. He is something special, and you can't take that for granted.
No, you definitely cannot. He actually ended up scoring a power play goal in this game, too. It was the second goal for the Detroit Red Wings. Lucas Raymond did get the first one. It was a tip-in shot from Dylan Larkin, and thanks to Marco Kasper for getting that over to him as well. Like I said, Moritz Seider getting the power play goal. So Patrick Kane, once again, filling in on the power play, coming back. So there you go. We're finally kicking it up on the power play. And the Red Wings did go for 2 for 4 on there, so 50%. Jonathan Berggren on the power play goal as well. And then you got Lord Elmer Soderblom, the big guy, getting up on the board for his second of the year. And then
beautiful goal, too. Dude, that puck was like good for him for handling that because that was right on the perimeter of not being in his vicinity.
That pass from Veleno, I thought that was a really great pass from Veleno. But Elmer Soderblom, you got to give him credit for being in that correct spot in the slot like that, right?
Totally. The reach, stick on the ice, and the hands to finish was dope. It was dope.
Yeah. The Red Wings did go into a shootout this game. You did have Lucas Raymond and Patrick Kane being the only 2 Red Wings to go out there, only because Seattle Kraken got to go first. They had 3 opportunities, and Patrick Kane was the lone goal scorer. Carlo, going back to it. That celebration, what was the goal more gross or was the celebration from the bench more gross?
I'm going with the goal on that one, dude, because like that goal, you don't celebrate without a goal like that. And that goal was nasty, dude. Oh, I can watch it. I think I've watched it 700 times. It was so gross.
We also did put out a short video of that asking what was more disgusting. I believe that's how we put it, was the goal or the celebration by the bench. Is it more cold not doing a celebration after doing a disgusting goal like that in a shootout and becoming the all-time leader in a shootout in NHL history? Is that okay? Is that the correct celebration Patrick Kane should have went with? Was just straight face, no nothing, and then the whole bench just does the reaction for him?
Yep. Yep, I think so. He's the man, and he knows what he's doing. He's the man, and he knows it. He doesn't need to celebrate anymore. He can still celebrate some nasty goals that he gets on the power play and 5-on-5. But I feel like shootouts, shootouts are weird because it's 50-50, right? It's you against a goalie, and I don't want to say they mean less because obviously they don't. That was a game-winning opportunity, but I feel like when you score, when your teammates are on the ice with you, and you guys, you guys go through a cycle, you guys go through a play and it works and you capitalize and score, there's just a lot more to celebrate there with your boys. So I think it was the right call for sure. And I thought it was handled well.
Yeah. And it all goes back to Simon Edvinsson doing
Dude,
the
that
hot
was so
hands,
funny.
and then all the players, Alex DeBrincat, you could see Lucas Raymond, Moritz Seider, all those players, they all were just like, and for anyone who thinks that Patrick Kane does not have an influence on the young players on this team, just go watch that clip. That's why we say this all the time. And yeah. I'm someone who vouches to extend him for another year, Carlo. I'm going to ask you that same question. Are you on board with something like that if it comes to it?
Yeah, I am, dude. I think it'd be really cool to see Patty Kane retire a Red Wing. He does help out, as we can see in the stats and what we've been talking about, and even what we covered last week when he was injured for those couple of games. Like, he really does help the power play out a lot. And off the ice too, even on the ice. But I mean, like, what is he doing for some of the other players on our team? Like, we look at guys like Lucas Raymond, who I truly think is benefiting from Kane's presence on and off the ice. I'm going to mention Berggren in there too. I'm going to mention Soderblom right now with the hands and the play and just the confidence that he's playing at. I think Patty Kane has a lot to do with it, man. I mean, everyone talks about Patty Kane's brain, and I'm sure that's being tapped into off the ice and in the room and whatnot to kind of really coach these players on some different things. So I'm totally down to extend Patty Kane for another year, granted that it makes sense. And it would be really cool to see a guy like Patrick Kane, an all-time great, retire a Red Wing. Would be really cool.
It would be really cool. And before we actually move forward from this game, I actually want to put a spotlight on Lord Elmer Soderblom, not only for his goal, because that was a really great goal, like we both alluded to, but he was a pest out there that game. He had a really big hit on Brandon Montour. I don't know if you remember that hit, Carlo, but he sent him flying out on the ice. And a lot of people are saying he's just got to do that more. He is currently averaging 2 hits per game. Obviously, you want to see that more, but yeah, is this something that Elmer Soderblom can continue doing? And is this his way of sticking in the lineup for this Detroit Red Wings team?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I really think so, because I'll be honest with you, we got beat up against Seattle. They physically beat the crap out of us all night long. Final hits were 27 Seattle, 15 for Detroit. And I'm not saying we need to go and get dirty and we need to become a bunch of plugs and we need to go and start taking unnecessary penalties and smashing people. It's not what I'm saying, but we need guys to finish their checks, and we need guys to finish their checks on the heavier side. Because it was very evident that we kind of got banged around out there. So it would be great to have Simon Edvinsson just like that, to have some big guys laying some big hits like that. That is one key piece that this team is missing, that this team is going to need if they're going to go on any sort of run, whether that be in 2 years from now, 3 years from now. There's definitely an element that is missing on this team that we need bad.
Yeah, for those that are only watching us or viewing or listening to us, I should say like that, on Spotify and Apple right now, you are viewing our short video of Elmer Soderblom just crunching into Brandon Montour when they were playing against the Seattle Kraken. And yeah, 6'5", 200 or 6'8", 250 pounds. Yep, 6'8", 250 pounds right there. That's a big boy, and look at them, just knocking him over.
Yeah, we need that to continue to happen. But we, like I said, man, we need it from more than just Soda.
Right.
We need it from a few more guys, or maybe even some new people, some new blood that could potentially be coming in. I mean, we'll get there later on in the episode, I'm sure, but it's definitely an element that we need some more of so that we can stop getting whipped around, because it was pretty evident against the Seattle Kraken that we were getting whipped up.
Well, maybe we saw some of those potential players that you're talking about at the end of this Tampa Bay Lightning game, because there was a large scrum at the end of that, and there was all the future young, bright kids that we're supposedly having on this team currently right now. Let's talk about the game. where the Detroit Red Wings did play against the Tampa Bay Lightning, coming back at home, officially in the first wild card spot. Going into this game, it was very important because Tampa Bay was also competing for the third overall spot in the Atlantic for a wild card, as well as the Ottawa Senators. Yesterday actually was a really big day in general, Carlo, because you had the Ottawa Senators playing, the Boston Bruins playing, the Columbus Blue Jackets playing. A lot of these teams vying for those spots in the wild card spot, right? If not in their own division, right? And so the Wings got kind of lucky for after losing this game 6-3. I went to this game. I took my grandma to her very first game. Love you, grandma, at LCA. She was telling us all the stories about when she went to Olympia and how tickets there were only 50 cents at the time. Quadrupled that by like 1,000, grandma. It's
a little different these days.
Yeah, it was absolutely insane, but she had a lot of fun regardless. Bought her a nice little button up sweatshirt that she got from the store. She ended up getting a great granddaughter something too, so hope she enjoys that as well. But great game overall for us. Wish the Red Wings would have came out with 2 points, but Carlo, in this game, yeah, the very first period, not the greatest by the Detroit Red Wings. Let's just be honest. Within the first 3 minutes of the game, the Red Wings are down 2-0. You had Alex Lyon in net, and they pulled him. And I said that right before they pulled him. I was like, you should pull Alex Lyon right now.
Yep.
Because I think that was two goals in like 2 or 3 shots that they had on net at that point. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on the Alex Lyon pull real quick?
Oh, it was necessary, man. He wasn't there. It's not that he wasn't there. I mean, it's not all on him. The team did not start well. And when I'm talking about the start, because they definitely, I would say they won the period in terms of some of the other stat lines, but the team did not start.
Yeah.
As a unit, they just were on their heels as soon as the puck dropped. I was like, what the hell's going on? You're obviously Alex Lyon wants the first one back. There's no doubt about that. He probably wants the second one back too. But when you're playing on your heels as a team and you're not doing anything and you're just letting these guys get some crazy, I don't even want to call it crazy, just pucks on the net, so like little fluffy things. Yeah, something you got to send a message to the team. So I think it was definitely the right call to pull Alex Lyon, put Talbot in net. Not that Talbot was any better. It was just one of those games where it didn't matter. The puck was just not bouncing our way. I don't think it really mattered who was in net. We kind of got but I'm going to preface by saying it's very hard to complain because both these goalies have been playing out of their mind.
I wouldn't put any of the blame on either of the two goaltenders. Totally. I did watch the post-game press conference and, listening to Tom McClellan, he even said, I wouldn't place the blame this game on either of the goaltenders either, because what I noticed, he actually kind of said the same thing. Of course he did, because he's the coach. He sees it a lot better than I probably do, but you could tell that there wasn't something right about the boys where, like how you mentioned, Carlo, it looked like that they were there and the stat line showed it, right? They were getting pucks on that. They were at least like in the game, but it still seems like that they were just all over the place and they weren't playing man on coverage that they were supposed to and leaving a lot of open gaps for the Tampa Bay Lightning to take advantage. And me and my cousin's boyfriend, we were talking about that, right? Where they just kept on getting these like little small stretch passes to where the guys in the open middle ice, right? They got that one breakaway, and then you also had Braden Point coming down the slot at one point too. It was just the boys weren't.
That's the third goal that I want back. Yeah. Like the first 2 goals I want back. I guess it would be the first 3 goals because Braden Point was goal number 3.
Yep.
Like Talbot was just literally he was in the net. Like he was backed right up in the net. And Pointer shot that right over his glove. So, goaltending could have been better. Team play could have been better. 5-on-5 could have been a ton better. So you can't put it on the goalie, but this game very much could have been 3-3 going into overtime, just as much as it was a 6-3 Lightning win.
I thought it was going to be 4-4 at one point, Carlo. I really did, because just looking at the stats in total, I mean, they had a really good second period. I thought the Detroit Red Wings did a lot better than the first, because Todd McClellan even said, like, usually I go in there and tell the players that they have a shitty play and that whatever else has a shitty play, right? He actually said that in the post game too. So pardon my French on this episode today. But he's absolutely right. But they turned it around in the second, I thought. But then you go into the third, and he said this, and I noticed it too. They went back to the first period style of play where they just kind of looked like that they were all over the place, not really playing to the type of style that they were supposed to. But they did They were out there. They were trying, and the stats show it. It was 37 to 18 shots on that for the Red Wings face-offs. You were down, but you were 50% on the power play. You did get your power play goal from Patrick Kane. Vladimir Tarasenko gets a goal in this game too, and then Alex DeBrincat. Those are your 3 goal scorers. DeBrincat 3-point night, by the way. But what were you about?
Not a big deal.
Not a big deal. Okay, cool. Carlo. The Red Wings were in a wild card spot after the Kraken win, right? So they were in the first wild card spot. Dubs in the chat. Now they're in the second wild card spot. The Tampa Bay Lightning play today.
Currently winning as well.
Against the Montreal Canadiens. So would you rather see Tampa Bay win and continue rising from that third spot that they're in, or would you rather see Montreal win and keep climbing underneath us because they're only 6 points back from us?
For me, I'd rather see the Lightning win. Listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I think we're going to catch the Lightning, and I think we're going to finish third in the Atlantic. That's my hot take, if you want to call it that. That's my bold opinion. I truly think that's going to happen. Watching Detroit play the second period that they played against them, and then just looking at the overall shots on goal and the way that Detroit can very much tilt the ice when they want to, Detroit's very close. You got to remember, Todd McLellan and Trent Yawney, they don't have all their fingerprints all over this team yet. They've slowly started introducing things. And those slow introduced items, whatever they are, got us to 2 7-game winning streaks within weeks. So there's a lot of hockey left to be played here, Zach. And for me, I would rather Tampa win this game because I'm confident, and I can't believe I'm even saying this because it's been so long. I'm super confident that the Wings can still catch the Tampa Bay Lightning. Who's to say we can't break off another heater? We broke off 2. There's got to be a third one in there with that amount of hockey we got left. That's the way I'm thinking anyways. It's going to be tight, but I think this team's playing at a different level right now, dude. Like they're playing at a level we haven't seen in such a long time. So, pardon me for the confidence. I do have quite a bit of it right now when it comes to this team. And again, I said, I can't believe I'm even saying this, but you look at the difference in points. If Tampa wins today, they're going to be at 66. Detroit's at 61. 5 points, it's not that big of a difference to go from second wild card to the third place in the Atlantic. And given the way Detroit's handled Tampa Bay the last 2 games that they've played them, I'm pretty confident that they can catch them.
I think now is a good segue to talk about our main topics, right? So we're going to talk about, we'll talk about the playoff dreams. We'll talk about the 4 Nations Faceoff, and then let's talk about the Tarasenko trade rumors. Totally. So I do want to talk about the playoff dreams first. As of today, Carlo, the Detroit Red Wings have 27 games left. After the break, they will have 12 home games, 15 road games, and 18 of the games are going to be against teams that would qualify for the playoffs as of today. So the Detroit Red Wings still have one of the toughest schedules remaining in the National Hockey League. My question to you, the watchers, listeners, fans, and to you, Carlo, what can the team do to keep the dreams of making the playoffs alive? And the second question following up, it's essentially the same, a little different, but what does the team and Steve Yzerman need to do going into the 4 Nations Face-Off tournament as well during this break? What do all parties have to do here in order to keep this playoff dream alive currently?
Well, 27 games, I think it's 31 points right now would put them at their 91 points, 92 points from last season.
15 and a half games.
Yeah. So I'm gonna shout out Beer League Chump, our boy, because he put out a pretty interesting stat with some calendar stuff. So I want to read through this one here. But he basically says that the team needs to go 15-11-1 minimum. And then he showcases the remainder of the games. And I look at 15-11-1 minimum. And then I look at Todd McLellan behind you, Zach. And I'm like, give me 17-9-1. Give me 18-9-0. Like, I don't know. Like, I think that I just feel there's a confidence with this team right now. There's a confidence in their ability. And you can even take it back to look at the 2 7-game win streaks, right? One was heavily offensive and one was shut down D. So we're kind of seeing best of both worlds which I can't believe I'm saying that either. Like it's kind of crazy.
You weren't able to say that on December 26th?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, you know, if I look at 15, 11, and 1, to me, I just put a big check mark next time. Like, yeah, I'm in. I can get down with that. But I can also get down with 18 wins out of the remaining games as well, based on how they've been playing.
I mean, yeah, let's go ahead and look at the remaining schedule. The Red Wings won't play again until February 22nd, where they will actually start off with a back-to-back game. Both are at home, luckily for the Detroit Red Wings, a 12:30 p.m. and a 6 p.m. 6 p.m. on a Sunday. That's kind of weird, but I actually like that a little bit. Then you go into March, Carlo. I think this is where it starts to get a little jam-packed. Then you start off with the Stadium Series game against the Columbus Blue Jackets on Saturday, March 1st. We'll talk about that here actually a little bit later for the Red Wings news. But yeah, jam-packed March. I mean, you got to play the Canes, Hockey Club, Capitals. That's a big one right there, in my personal opinion. This one against the Sens away versus the Sens. That's a big one,
big
too.
Big game, yeah.
You play the Caps again. Then there's the Sens again. Then there's the Boston Bruins. Then you go over into April. This is the stretch, Carlo.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah, that's 6 away games just in April alone. You got to go up against the Montreal Canadiens, who are very close to you. Then you got to play the really tough Florida Panthers, who might win the division this year if they stay toe-to-toe with Tampa or Toronto. And even Tampa Bay, Carlo, I know that you said that we could catch up to them, but it's anyone's game, especially when it comes to the trade deadline. But I want to ask this again because I know I kind of asked a lot before you went into your spiel. What can this team do to keep the playoff dreams alive, in your opinion?
Personnel wise, for me, okay, so what I would like and what I would want is a top 9 skilled player, preferably center.
So is that, before you continue even further, I guess I should ask, is that what you want Steve Yzerman to do going into the break, is to adventure into what's out there currently, right? Because we might as well talk about it too. Vladimir Tarasenko, Elliotte Friedman did come out late last night saying that Tarasenko could be on the move, and there are teams that may be interested in him. First team that comes to my mind, Carlo, is the Florida Panthers. So is that what you're thinking that Steve Yzerman is doing during this break right now? Is that what the Detroit Red Wings, at this current point, holding the second wildcard spot in their conference, is to go out there and try to make a trade and bolster up the roster?
I would think so, man. I mean, we're in a position right now where I think you need to look hard, because if you take us back to last year, we were in a similar position. We didn't do anything. We standed pat.
No.
So I'm hoping something was learned there, because we ended up going on, didn't we go on a 7-game skid right after the trade deadline in March?
Yeah, it was something crazy like that. Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, let's highlight that for a second. What I want, like I was saying, top 6, top 9, skilled. I'm not even going to put it down to a position, a skilled forward, preferably center. And I think we need a solid shutdown defenseman with bite. Somebody who will go out there and be a bruiser and wear you down shift by shift by shift by finishing every single check. Does that mean that somebody needs to come out of the lineup? Probably. I mean, I'm asking for 2 players. I think we're lucky if we see one of those, to be quite honest with you. But Vladimir Tarasenko, I mean, we have Fisher and Mott in the press box right now, and we got Soda, we got, you know, like Casper. Obviously, it doesn't seem like those guys are going anywhere. But Mott and Fisher are in the press box. So are they coming back into the lineup? I really don't know. But either way, we're kind of jammed up right now. So that brings us to Tarasenko. He's got a no trade clause, and it's a full no trade clause. Next year, it's a modified no trade clause where he has 8 teams that he can be traded to with an 18 trade list. So I have no idea who's going to want to take on Tarasenko right now, and I have no idea where Tarasenko is going to want to go to waive this no trade clause. You bring up a really good point with the Florida Panthers and a bit of a reunion there. I could see that. But like, what's the trade at that point?
I think you're probably, I mean, obviously you probably have to make something work with the cap. I'm not sure exactly, if you want to pull that up real quick, Carlo, what the Florida Panthers cap situation looks like. But honestly, I think for depth scoring, for someone like the Florida Panthers, for a team who is familiar with him and that they know that how he works, how he operates, and can get what they want out of him, because he was a playoff performer for them a little bit, right? I mean, he got 5 goals, 4 assists, 9 points in the 24 games for them and winning the cup, but that familiarity and being able to utilize him properly is still there. So honestly, I think if you can maybe take a player back from Florida, if there is a player that they have, or maybe you don't have to, maybe Florida would be interested in just giving you maybe like a 4th or a 5th. I don't think we actually have to give up anything. But once again, it comes down to that extra year on his contract. Does Florida actually want that? And does Vladimir Tarasenko want to be a 3rd/4th liner there in Florida? Because I would assume that's where he would fit in their lineup.
Yeah, probably 3rd line, where he was last year with them. They have 2.2 million in cap space, so, or 2.16, I should say. So I mean, it would have to be creative. Do I think a player's coming back? No. Florida's going on a run. It's their window. They want to go and win another cup. So I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, why I said this last episode, and I think I was speaking on behalf of the Wings, but think of any other team. Like, you don't want to go and make a trade when it's going to shake up the core, it's going to shake up the chemistry, and it's going to shake up that roster. Not when you're the Florida Panthers going on, potentially another cup run here. So I really don't know what's going to happen, but you brought up a good point, because if I'm Tarasenko and I have a full no move clause, the only team I really am going to move to willingly is a cup contender, just like anybody else would that has a no move clause. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I was surprised when Elliotte said that there was some talk around Tarasenko. I truly was like, oh, well, interesting. Did not see that one coming, because I didn't understand how it could be possible. But we will see. It's going to be an interesting couple weeks here.
Would it be crazy to think that there would be another reunion there with the St. Louis Blues for someone like Tarasenko? I mean, looking at them, I'm not saying they would do it for just this season, but I think also for next season, because for them, they're only 8 points out of a wild card spot, the St. Louis Blues. So could that be a possibility in your mind?
Yeah, it could be a possibility for sure. I mean, he had a lot of his career was obviously in St. Louis, right? So yeah, I could see a bit of a reunion there too. They got 3.5 million in cap, so a little bit more room to make something like that work. And I think St. Louis is probably in a position to make an actual hockey trade than Florida is when it comes to trading a player back to Detroit. Whatever, which could be whoever Detroit's looking for. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know, man. I also am gonna say, like, I don't know how sold I am that there's even rumors about Tarasenko.
I guess I should ask too, do you actually believe the Red Wings could get anything in return for Vladimir Tarasenko? Some people actually think that you might have to give up something or retain some cap from him. I actually believe that I think you can get a 4th or a 5th for him. I think there is a team out there that could say, okay, it's just obviously not a fit in Detroit, and if Steve just sells on him well enough, you could get something rather than nothing. Or you can give future considerations and you remove the $4.75 million from your cap. So which side are you leaning on, Carlo? Can you get something for Tarasenko, or do you have to give up?
I can see it being a package. I can definitely see it being a package. Tarasenko and another player going for somebody that Detroit really wants. I could see something like that, but there's just so much that has to really line up. Again, no move clause, full no move clause. So a lot has to line up, and there's got to be a lot of selling involved to make that happen. That's why I just don't think it's going to happen. I can see it happening next year when it's, there's 8 teams, right? I can see that being a little more something we could, look at and talk about and ultimately see. But I don't think there's anything there. I'm sorry, Elliotte. I just don't believe you.
I mean, with the cap going up, we really haven't talked about the cap. The cap is dramatically increasing for the next few years, Carlo, right? By well over like $5.5 million for each year, right? So that's chump change with Tarasenko's contract. So in the offseason, that might make the most sense. And maybe it could be just false reportings. Maybe teams actually are interested in Tarasenko, but that's all it is. It's just, hey, is he available? Let's try and test the waters a little bit to see what it would take to get him. Maybe that's just all it is. It's just rumblings and maybe just a little smoke. And maybe that's something that we see actually pan out once we get into the offseason, right? But let's not forget that the last time that Tarasenko was traded, it was actually when he had a 1-year, $5 million contract with the Ottawa Senators, and they retained 50% of his salary to go over to the Florida Panthers. And I don't believe the return was very good for the Ottawa Senators. I know that they got 2 picks. Let's see here. They got a 4th and then a 3rd. So they got a 2024 4th and then a 3rd for the 2025 NHL draft. So would you take on 50% cap for 2 years and try to get something similar? Probably not if you're Steve Yzerman. Do you want to retain half of $4.7 million, even with the cap going up? I think there's plenty of other players you would rather buy out on the Detroit Red Wings rather than, or retain salary on, than someone like Vladimir Tarasenko, correct?
Yeah, I'm with you there. That's why, I just don't think there's a whole lot here. I really don't think there's a whole lot here. I think next year, potentially, when the contract opens up a little bit more for Steve and Tarasenko with that 8-team trade list, then I think there could be something there. But again, I always say this, man. It always depends on the return. What's coming back or what's not coming back. And are we retaining anything? Why would Steve put himself in a position to retain 50%, 30, even 30% on this contract for 2 years for what? For what's coming back? What am I doing this for? It doesn't make much sense, right? So I don't know. I really don't think there's much here. But again, we could be wrong. We could be surprised, and we could see Steve pull off a Stevie Yzerman trade. Who knows? That's who knows?
All right, Carlo. Let's jump into the Four Nations Faceoff tournament because I do feel like it's aligns with everything that we just talked about. Keeping the playoff dreams alive. You do have Dylan Larkin, the Detroit Red Wings captain, playing for Team USA. And then superstar Lucas Raymond playing for Team Sweden over there are 2 top players on this team, right? I would say maybe outside of Moritz Seider, poor Team Germany couldn't enter into the Four Nations tournament, but he surely would probably be on the team with A as well, right? So, but a lot of fans seem to be nervous about our top players going to play in this. Should we be nervous about potential injuries with our top players going into this tournament, Carlo? Are you nervous at all?
No, I'm not. I'm excited for these guys to go out there and continue to play and continue to stay warmed up and revved up. I think that's going to be huge for these guys for when they get back. These are 2 leaders on the team. They're going to go and wear their country's sweater on their chest. They're going to go play their hearts out. I really do think it's going to be a competitive tournament. I think they're going to come back and they're going to get this team fired up based off of the amount of hockey that they've played over the course of this tournament. I'm hoping to see, listen, I'm Canadian, but we don't have any Red Wings on the team. So for the sake of the Red Wings and being a Red Wings diehard, I'm hoping it's a USA-Sweden final so that, Dylan Larkin and Lucas Raymond can play hockey like Todd wants them to. But again, I really do think that if they get some good games and some good frequent number of games, they come back to this team who needs to go on another heater. I think it's a perfect recipe for that, man. I'm not nervous at all. Are all 31 GMs nervous that their best players are going to represent? I don't know, man. Some are going to be nervous. Some are not going to be nervous. Personally, I'm not. I think it's going to be great for the team.
I'm going to be honest with you, Carlo. I actually am a little skittish only because of what we went through last season, right? Dylan Larkin getting injured, and we saw how this team just completely collapses when they don't have their number 1 center on this team. So I am a little nervous about that. And Dylan Larkin is a little injury prone. He hasn't been quite this season. What does that mean for Lucas Raymond? I'm very much excited for Lucas Raymond, but I'm also nervous that he's going to get injured because we haven't really seen him go through a really large-scale injury before, and going up against other elite top talent like in USA and in Canada. I know Finland's kind of been depleted, especially on the defensive end. We actually got a lot of notifications about that this morning, but pushing the nervousness side away, what are your expectations for these players going into this tournament? Do you expect them to kind of take over and become point per game players in this tournament? Who do you actually have winning for this tournament? Who's your favorite?
I don't know who's going to win the tournament. I need to see a couple games. Everyone has a 50% chance to make it all the way. That alone tells me that it's going to be some really good hockey. Yeah. But you have to remember, like, a lot of these players that are in these 4 nations are going to be playing against teammates, maybe line mates. Obviously, we know that's happening with Larkin and Raymond. I don't think they're going to run each other. I don't think they're going to try to go out there and injure. They're going to play hockey, right? but I don't think they're going to go out there and beat goons, right? Give or take the Kachuk brothers. I mean, I don't know if you can take the goons out of those two, but everybody else, like, I don't know, man. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think you're going to see a lot of dirtiness. I think you're going to see a lot of clean, crisp hockey. At least that's what I'm hoping for. And to tell you who I think is going to win, man, I think Canada's got a really good team. Like, Canada looks pretty good. They all look good, Zach. I don't know. I just went through it all in my mind, and I'm like, how am I going to guess right now? I have no idea who's going to win. I have not a clue.
Your bias is showing there, Mr. Canada guy.
No, I do think it'll be a U.S.-Sweden final. I do think it'll be a U.S. versus Sweden final, and it'll be Larkin and Raymond in the finals. I'll give that as my prediction. Don't know who's going to win it, but I'll give that as my prediction.
Yeah, I really don't want to place a pick on who's going to win the tournament. My bias is going to show. Obviously, I think USA is going to win, sure. But I really do think overall, I think it will come down to goaltending for them. I really like their tandem. I think that's really solid. Just overall, they look stacked. Canada, you can't discount them. I think even for Sweden, I think that they're pretty stacked, especially on the back end, Carlo. And Lucas Raymond, for me, I don't have expectations, but if he can walk out of there being well over a point per game player, boy, I think you can add a little more oomph onto that NHL superstar talented player level of his that I keep on alluding to, right? Maybe not so much for others, but that's what I would like to see out of him. Is that something that you would like to see out of Lucas Raymond too? I'm assuming you would say yes.
Oh yeah, dude, 100%. You know, it's crazy. I look at the forward group and the way they're slotted. I'm surprised Lucas Raymond is not in the top 6, to be quite honest with you. I think he's better than Victor Arvidsson. I think he's better than Gustav Nyquist. I don't know. I'm surprised that he's not in the top 6 there. But yeah, I think if Lucas comes out of there, like you said, with a point per game, I think he's that clutch gene is just going to continue to activate more and more and more. And this is the stuff I'm talking about. Once that comes back to the Red Wings in a couple of weeks, I'm expecting another heater.
So is it more surprising for you that Lucas Raymond didn't crack the top 6, or is it more surprising for Dylan Larkin?
Lucas Raymond.
Yeah, I would agree.
I would say Lucas Raymond. I think Larkin is slotted correctly, and if he's playing with Jack Eichel and Matthew Tkachuk, that's a nasty line. That is a nasty line, especially him and Eichel, because I think they have some history too. But I hot take, I think Lucas Raymond makes some jumps into the Sweden lineup. I think he ends up probably going to the second line, potentially getting some looks on the first line as well. I think that's got to happen.
I think we see a lot of shuffling amongst all these teams, right? Depending on who they play against, the types of matching, right? And let's try not to focus on where they're actually slotted out, right? Because that third line, one night they could play 9 minutes, the other night they honestly could play 20. Carlo. It really all depends on how the game goes and the way that the shifts work, right? So we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, that tournament will be starting on Wednesday the 12th and will continue until next Thursday on the 20th. Once again, Captain Dylan Larkin for Team USA and Lucas Raymond for Team Sweden. So just kind of wrapping everything up. Yeah, we want the boys to have fun. We don't want them to get injured. For the playoff dreams to stay alive, Carlo, yeah, they just got to continue doing what they're doing. They have to at least go 15, 11, and 1. I think you said Beer League Chump said that online, right? Or at least try to go 19 wins out of the remaining games that you have, the 27 left, 12 at home, 15 on the road, and the 18 against teams that would qualify for a playoff spot as of today. And asking you again, what does the team and Steve Yzerman need to do going into the Four Nations Faceoff tournament? Explore the trade mill, right? Try to go out and get someone that can help this team, because talking about it once again, we've talked about it on previous episodes. The one thing Steve Yzerman maybe should have done was make a trade to help out the team after the trade deadline. Yeah. Agreed, disagree. Once again, agreed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Carlo, Red Wings news. This makes me really mad because I'm still waiting. As of Tuesday, Stadium Series jerseys were posted on Fanatics' website, but they only had Larkin, Sider, Kane, and youth jerseys. Nothing else. Team Store will not sell or ship pre-order jerseys until March 4th after the game. However, earlier this week, I did get a call back from the Team Store saying there would be another 10 to 14 days if I wanted to come pick up my jersey from the arena. So bad news for folks. If you want Lucas Raymond jersey, Unfortunately, you are going to have to pay more from the team store versus Fanatics. Carlo, I don't know if you want to check real quick. Maybe it's up on Fanatics now, but the last time I checked, Lucas Raymond was not on there, so I have to wait. So if you're someone like me who's waiting for Lucas Raymond, that's unfortunately the way she wrote it. Kind of stupid for Fanatics not to have Lucas Raymond or any other player, or at least get a customized jersey, right, Carlo?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was even looking at Vintage Detroit to see if they had the sweaters to go custom, because I was really disappointed to not see Raymond on there.
Moving along, though, Trey Augustine and MSU defeats U of M at LCA for duel in the D game, which was last night. They ended up winning 6-1, Carlo. I almost went to that game, but it was sold out. Are you surprised by that?
No, I'm not. Are you surprised by that?
No, because both teams are actually really good this year. Finally, in a really long time. Obviously, MSU and U of M were really good last year too, but for them to continue this and watching the battle, you know, it's going to be awesome for years to come to see these two programs actually duel it out. And hopefully maybe this is the last time we see Trey Augustine participate in a game like this and make the jump over to the AHL for the Grand Rapids Griffins next year. And then also, Carlo, Scott Wheeler puts the Wings at 5th for their prospect pool in the NHL with his most recent rankings. And then we did ask him, you know, what was the rankings for the Detroit Red Wings that you had him at since 2020? Detroit Yzerman's official, like, first or second year, however you want to look at it. But for 2020, he had him ranked 9th. The next year, 4th, 7th, 4th, 2nd. Last year, and then this year has him ranked 5th with ASP and MBN at the top. I'm not sure if you remember how that order went, Carlo, but thoughts real quick on the Detroit Red Wings, Scott Wheeler's projection for their prospect pool.
I think it's a really good projection. I'm hoping it is as accurate as it calls out to be. But no, I think the prospects are solid, dude. I really do think the prospects are solid. We've said this lots throughout the last year at least. The prospects are solid. It's just we want the prospects to be people they're just not there yet. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, we want these people and these players to be people that they're just not. But that's not to say they won't become, but it just takes time. And that's what I think Steve Yzerman means, is this is going to be a very timely, requiring patience movement that we're going to go through. And we're just starting to see some dividends pay off now. So I think the prospects are great. I think they still got work to do. They got developments to go through. And yeah, I think there's definitely a bright future in Hockey Town right now, for sure. I mean, just go look at the list.
Yeah, no, it is an incredible list too. I mean, you have two goalies on there. You got a really good right-handed shooting defenseman there at number 1. Marco Kasper was there at number 3, and even the two goaltenders, Kosa and Augustine, they were more in the middle. So does that surprise you a little bit? Even someone like Buchelnikov was kind of down there on that list too. Is he being underrated currently right now because no one's really seen him in action over here?
Yeah, I think you just said it. I think that's probably why you've seen him maybe a little bit lower, mid to low on the rankings, is because he's playing in Russia. You know what I mean? He's playing in Russia. Mind you, he's killing it in Russia. He's playing very, very well in Russia, flying around the ice. I think he just won fastest skater, beating out Demidov.
He did. Good call out.
Yeah. So claps to him. But yeah, I think he's definitely underrated, and I think he's going to take another situation. Like I said a couple weeks back, you know, ASP is going to take Western media, hockey media, by storm. I think Buchelnikov's right next to him on that one. So two dynamic players, man. Very dynamic players.
So is that the reasoning too? Would you apply that the same for MBN? Are you surprised that MBN is at number 2 on that list? Is that kind of the same thing with
that? Number 2, that one, yeah, that one kind of surprised me a little bit, I think. When you look at the entire list, and I honestly can't remember the exact ranking of it, but for MBN to be at number 2, I don't know. I think I would ask why is he at number 2? I'm not discrediting him. I'm just saying, out of this list, why is he at number 2?
Well, we're in luck, Carlo, because our good friends over at Wing Will Podcast actually did post the rankings for us. And yeah, just looking at the exact list, ASP number 1, Michael Brandzing-Nygaard number 2, Marco Kasper number 3, Nate Danielson, Kosa, Augustine, Buchelnikov, Mazer at number 8, Wallander at number 9, and then Shai Buum at number 10, Carlo. Is there anyone that you maybe would put in this list that isn't in here? Or would you say that this is pretty spot on with the Detroit Red Wings top 10 prospects currently?
No, I think it's exactly how it should read out. I think the order is arguable, if you want to call it that.
Give or take.
Right. Yeah, like I think that could be. I feel like the top 5, maybe the top 6 could probably be up for discussion. Shit, I'm gonna even say the top 7 with Buchelnikov there, because I feel like he's a little low. But that's just my opinion. It doesn't really matter. We have 10 prospects here that are just all looking very, very promising. Some more than others, right?
Yeah, they all very much could play in the NHL at some point in their careers. I firmly believe that for all 10 of these players, whether if that's a Red Wings or not.
Yes, I agree with that statement 100%. So yeah, that's promising. You got to look at that and say we're in good shape. 2 goalies on there. Just look at what's on there. 2 centers, 2 goalies, some D, some wingers. Like it's so well rounded that alone, you look at that alone and that's very promising. But then you go and look at each player and what each player does, with their contributions on whether they're playing for a World Junior team or whether they're playing for a team in the SHL or the AHL or the NHL or in college university. Like Trey Augustine's nuts, dude. That kid's unreal. Like this is just a really good, well-rounded positional grouping. And then you go look at each player, and there's just something there with every player. Like you said it, man. Every one of these players has a very good chance at playing in the NHL. I truly stand by that. Well said.
Yeah. So, and then you also down below, for those that actually can view what we're showing you guys, the Wing Wheel podcast did put the 11 through 15 players that they found from Scott Wheeler as well. And you got Max Plante on there, Amadeus Lombardi, Jesse Kiskinen, Emmett Benny, and not Aljo, but Anton Johansson. Yes. Albert and Aljo myself. Jesus Murphy. How dare the Red Wings draft a player basically with the same name as Aljo?
Hey, man, the Vancouver Canucks are screwing everybody up with the Pedersons. So
once again, I don't think I would make any changes here. I think that this is pretty spot on. I think a lot of people would probably say I would prioritize goaltending over, the centers, because that's very important to this team. The last time that we had 2 really great goaltending tandem, who knows, outside of this season, I think they're fantastic. But yeah, just like you said, positional wise, ASP, he's your definite second pair right-handed shooting defenseman. Maybe sometimes can play in that top spot if Moritz Seider ever does get injured. I'm knocking on some wood right now. Yes, I hope you guys heard that. But yeah, Dmitry Buchelnikov, once again, I think you could make an argument for him to be bumped up there. I am surprised by MBN being at number 2, but maybe Scott Wheeler sees a little bit more than obviously we do. We don't watch him on a night in, night out basis, but I'm okay with that. If MBN's going to be number 2 on this prospect ranking list, cool. That's cool for me. You cool with that too, Carlo?
Cool for me, man.
All right, awesome. And let's go ahead and move on to the Around the League news. Carlo, we'll wrap up this episode. Before we actually do, Carlo, I am going to announce the winner of the Steve Yzerman mini stick giveaway, a Mexanadian, if I pronounce that right. My apologies, friend. If I did not, over on Twitter, you are the winner.
That's a big win. That's a big win.
Stick giveaway. It's been a long time coming for him too. I know he always enters in our giveaways, and he's been a really big fan of our work for a really long time, and we really do appreciate the love and support from all of you guys once again. So send us a DM once you see this episode. Let us know, and we will gladly get your information to send that over to you as quickly as possible. And shout out to That Tapeworm once again for winning that Patrick Kane bobblehead. Glad to know that got there nice and safely. She did repost that onto Twitter, showcasing that it's a nice addition. Glad to see Kaner is safe with you. So congratulations to That Tapeworm once again. Grace, congratulations. Carlo, Around the League news. Utah has 3 names up for grabs. It's either Utah Hockey Club, which it currently is, Utah Mammoth, or Utah Outlaws. Which one you going with, buddy?
I'm going with the Outlaws. I think that's sick. I think the logo's sick. And they also just beat the Capitals in a shootout moments ago. Just a little fun fact there. But for me, Outlaws, what do you got?
I was really firm on Yeti. I really like that, and I also really liked Venom, so I'm very disappointed that neither of those two actually made it.
So
but
am I.
that gives us the opportunity to bring back the Detroit Vipers if we could for a PWHL team.
That would be
or something.
cool. That would be
Yeah.
cool.
So, but I think I would have to agree with you. I think the Utah Outlaws probably has the best ring to it. I like all the logos were actually really cool. If you haven't seen those, go ahead and find those online. They are posted on Twitter, X, all over the place. But Mammoth was really cool too. I actually don't mind that one. You can't go wrong with any of them. I really don't like the Utah Hockey Club. It's too soccer for me, and I can say that because I played soccer. So I just think this is hockey. Let's try not to bring other sports ways of creating team names and organizations into hockey. Don't try to differentiate yourself too much. Just go Outlaws. Not too many humanoid teams in the NHL, right, Carlo? So
this is true. This is true. Yeah, fair enough. Good point.
Okay, let us know down in the comments what you guys think it's going to be. And then as of Friday, Carlo, maybe this has changed, maybe it hasn't, but Necas and Rantanen trade. Points since trade. Necas, as of Friday, has 8 points. Rantanen only had 2.
The Nathan MacKinnon effect. Need anyone say more? I mean, that's
Is there a Dylan Larkin effect to where we could do that and maybe Rantanen will thrive with us playing with Dylan Larkin if we can get him in free agency?
Look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you Dylan Larkin is equivalent to Nathan MacKinnon, but I will sit here and say that they play a similar game. Speed, hands, and just mobility, puck retrieval, all that stuff. It's a very similar game. You put a guy like Rantanen next to a guy like Larkin, yeah, I think you see success for both players for sure.
Does this change your mind though on who won the trade or not, based on the amount of points that each player has ever since the trade?
Too early to tell, I think, Zach, to be honest with you. I think we got to see how this whole thing shakes out. I mean, we've seen players have a good week all the time, and then we see them just fall off a cliff. So, I'm not going to die on a hill after a week. I would rather take my time on that one and take a look at the remainder of the games. And you got to remember, like, Rantanen's still gelling with people, right? He's not to say that who was the other guy?
Necas.
Yeah, it's not to say that Marty's not, but you're playing with Nathan MacKinnon. You're gonna just like like just put your stick on the ice and then that's you're good, literally. So I don't know. We'll see. Come back to me on that one.
Do you think that there's an opportunity where Carolina regrets making this trade, especially if Rantanen does not re-sign with them?
Well, I think the obvious answer would be yes, but I feel like their GM is such a brainiac that there's got to be like, you have to have a couple other moves, right? Like you got to have a plan B, plan C. Like, okay, we're going to go get Rantanen right now. He might not resign. If he doesn't, here's our next plays. Like, I feel like he's the type of GM that has the next 5 moves ready because of how big of a brain that guy's got. So it's tough. I think the obvious answer is yes, but don't be surprised if, Rantanen walks and Carolina does something else that's just magnificent with the amount of money that they saved and maybe the amount of players, that they get back and as a result of having all the money. Who knows? I don't know.
I agree with you there. Last but not least, Carlo, NHL TV viewership in the US is actually way down. It probably is in Canada too. Why? You probably don't have to answer this. I'm just going to, because it's not rocket science. Cable's expensive. Not everyone can afford to subscribe to 16 different streaming services. Either. So are you surprised that it's actually down?
No, but is it actually down though? Because like what's included in that? Just straight up TV and cable? Like what about streaming? Like I know you use the FanDuel app, right? FanDuel Sports. Yeah. So does that count towards viewership? I guess is my question. That's what we don't know, right?
Because it's technically not on cable. I'm technically streaming it from their app, like you just mentioned.
Yeah, it's a kind of a derivative of cable though. So I don't know if that gets roped into viewership when it comes to that. And I don't mean to go down a rabbit hole here or anything like that. It's just either way, if viewership's down, that's great for us because please let that be the message that this league needs to just like get better when it comes to getting easier access to the game. Like you should not have to subscribe to multiple things to watch the game of hockey. It's crazy to me.
Blackouts even too, Carlo. Like Living in the state of Michigan, if you wanted to get ESPN to watch the Red Wings, you can't. I think that's the dumbest thing ever. Why are we making it more difficult to watch hockey?
It blows my mind, Zach. It really blows my mind that it's like that. And, you always hear the NHL thrown around like, oh, we want to grow the game. We want to grow the game. It's like, well, why do you keep stepping on your own feet, man? Like, give the viewership to a company who can get it out to the masses. Company like Amazon, man, that's the first people that pop into my mind. The first company that pops in my mind is Amazon. Who does not have Amazon Prime? Get out of here.
I actually don't. I don't have Amazon Prime.
No, where do you buy things?
I use my dad's Amazon Prime.
Okay, so you have Amazon Prime. You in a roundabout way. God.
To buy things.
Amazon Prime. What else you tapping into?
Yeah, I don't use it to like watch anything. I really should. I actually accidentally paid for the $83 a month subscription for Hulu last week, so I'm stuck with that for a month. But I don't know. Yeah, man, like I said, I'm not a fan of it. Whether if it's 1, 2, 5, I don't care. I really don't want to have to pay a subscription. Now, if there was one place where I could just pay, like if they told me, hey, Zach, it's $120 for the year to watch any hockey and like any NHL. Or maybe there was like 3 teams I could pick that I want to watch for the whole year. If they told me it was $150 or something like that, I'd pay that.
Yeah, for
my 3 top favorite teams, and I get to watch all 82 games for that season for 150 bones. Is that too cheap?
Might be.
For the NHL, it would be, I bet.
Yeah.
But for me and you, that's a lot of money, 150 bones. So, all right.
Yeah, I mean, I just think I don't know, man. They need to get better at, like I said, just getting the game out there, just getting the game out to the masses. Like, look what WWE just did. They're on Netflix now.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Like, dude, that's the way to grow the brand, man. Like, you're going to have people that maybe haven't watched wrestling like me since Stone Cold Steve Yzerman was in his prime. The Rock was in his prime. The Undertaker scared the shit out of me. Like, that's when I watched wrestling, and it was awesome. I had a blast. But then, I don't know, like I grew up, you start getting into different things, you lose interest, and I wasn't about to go and pay for the WWE network specifically because I just lost interest. I didn't care that much. But hey, wait a second. Now it's Saturday night, I'm in my 30s and I'm chilling and I'm on Netflix scrolling and I see WWE. It's there. It's available to watch. I'm going to click it. Now you just got a new viewer. You just got a new viewer. Call me casual. It doesn't matter. You just netted yourself a new viewer. Why? Because it's available to the masses. If the NHL were to do that, they're going to have a really good growth chart when it comes to growing the game. But who am I, man? I'm just some guy. That's all.
You're just a casual fan, bro.
Just apparently, man.
If anyone caught Carlo saying Stone Cold Steve Yzerman, please leave it in the comments for us.
Did I say that?
You did. That was pretty funny. But if you caught that, because it is the tail end of the episode, please leave it down in the comments. We want to know that.
Clip that and put it in. I want to see it.
Clip it. Dubs in the chat, Carlo. Let's go ahead and jump into our final thoughts to end today's episode. I'll leave it open to you, buddy. Go ahead.
Final thoughts. Well, go Dylan Larkin. Go Lucas Raymond. I hope that they have a absolute time playing in this tournament. And it's going to be really exciting to watch best on best hockey again. So really, really pumped about that. Final thoughts. We are in the playoffs as we finish recording this episode and as we head into this break. There's lots to be pumped about. Let's go Red Wings. Let's go Todd Father. In Todd we trust. In Trent we trust. I feel bad because we've kind of left Trent out of the mix here, but he seems like a really great guy. Doesn't look like the kind of guy you want to get upset, but he looks like a great guy. And that's a fully loaded final thoughts from me, Zach. I'm going to turn it over to you because I have many more, and I just don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, buddy. My final thoughts are, I'm just going to copy and paste Carlo a little bit there, but I'm also going to throw in Alex Tanguay. I actually wanted to include him in this episode, never really got around to it, but I actually want to give him a shout out because he probably was pooping bricks when he found out Snoozy and Booby were getting kicked off the team, and he's the last one there, and he has to help out the new coaching staff, come in, get familiarized, and tell them what was and what was not working. So honestly, Carlo, real quick, claps for Tanguay.
Absolutely.
For
great call.
and keeping the power play top notch.
It's a great call.
Right? So, Super Bowl's tonight. Catch this episode before the Super Bowl if you can. If not, watch it after the Super Bowl too. We really do appreciate you guys stopping by and listening to our voices, hearing our takes, and providing you guys some great entertainment. At least we think so. Let us know if you do enjoy our entertainment. But Carlo, those are my final thoughts. And while we kick it off, we want to stop and say thanks for joining us once again on this brand new episode of Hockeytown Rundown. Why don't you go ahead and hit that like button if you haven't, hit that subscribe button if you haven't, if you're on Spotify or Apple, rate us the 5 stars, follow us, check out our merch, hit that link tree button. And Carlo, with that being said, we'll see everyone on the next one. See ya.
Later.